All right, guys, welcome back to Up and Above. On this panels today, I'm basically cleaning it up. So as you can see, we got a 12-3 circuit and a 30 amp. And 30 amp is only good for number 10 wire, not number 12, okay? It depends on the situation, but in this case, this is not the situation. This is no good. As you can see, this guy was stealing power from the homeowner. It's a store. And the next thing you can see is that they're using this wire the wrong way. Pretty much everything is wrong in this panel. This is actually a main panel, it's not a sub panel. It's the bunding screws not screwing all the way in. And everything just look completely a mess. So what we're gonna do is fix it and watch along. Let's do this together and let's make this baby look good. And remember to subscribe to the channel. I see a lot of people watch the content, but they're not subscribed. And together we could build a community. So let's do this. All right. Our biggest problem with a lot of people that's doing electrical is that if you're not an electrician, just say you're not an electrician. Stop trying to do the work just because you want to make money. Focus on what you're good at. If it's painting, focus on that and call a real licensed electrician to do the job versus giving the homeowner more issues. And sometimes we always like to blame the homeowner. We must be honest with ourselves. Sometimes the homeowner don't know. And at the same time, I think some homeowner need to educate themselves. If this guy said, I'm gonna charge you $100 to do the job, and this guy said, well, I could do it for $50, that's a big gap. You have to ask yourself why. Sometimes maybe it's because the person gonna do it themselves. They have cheap laborer working with them. And sometimes it just means they're not gonna do the right thing. They don't know what they're doing. So they'll just put anything for instinct. As you can see in this panel, the guy just used single 20s and 12-3 wire circuit. And that's a dangerous thing. The reason that is, if the red leg is still running and this one tripped and it's not in a double, so what happened is if the electrician don't have access to the basement sometimes, which is the case in most buildings, and then they go and try to fix the situation, the neutral is still carrying load on it, right? Because the reason they call it a multi-pin circuit wire because you're sharing the neutral with two hots. So the reason why it's important to put it in a double, once you put it in a double, if something happened to the red leg, everything tripped. So the neutral will have nothing on it till you fix that leg. And that's why they had changed that code. But back in the day, That's how they used to do it. 12 threes. You could put in a single breakers, but not no more. That code changed, I would say, since 2008. But most people, I mean, if you're not an electrician, you don't know the code, how you gonna do the right thing? You know what I'm saying? So, as you guys can see, everything is demoed out. So now one of the things I wanna focus on, because this thing has power, because Edison turned it back on. As you can see, you always wanna make sure your safety comes first. Tape up everything. As you can see on this side, that's where the meter is. I'm not able to turn off the power because the meter is locked. It's a smart meter. All you gotta do is call Edison, and then they'll turn the power back on from the office. So always put tape on your live wires to protect yourself, because you don't know what could go wrong. So I'm gonna get rid of these. Some of these breakers are good, so I'm gonna keep them for the next job. I'm gonna put new breakers in this panel, because that's what I told the client I was gonna do. So you gotta keep your word. If you tell the client you're gonna do ABCD, you have to do ABCD, because whatever you do is a representation of you. So you wouldn't want nobody to come to your house and tell you they're gonna give you new breakers, and then they didn't do it. You don't want that to happen. And guys, whoever's watching this, if you ever do in your house and you're doing the panel, you always want to put a big size panel. The reason that is, you don't want to overload all your lines, right? You want to have at least 3 to 4 spare down the line. For instance, you might buy a Tesla car. You might buy something that needs 2 hots and a neutral, and then you're gonna have the spare. If your panel is fully loaded, then what you're gonna end up doing is putting twins breaker, which by code you're not allowed to do anymore. You're gonna end up doing that, then, you know, to make space. It's better off you just put a nice decent panel. You have 4 spare breaker slot for the future. That's always key to do. And one mistake that I wanna show you, let me bring you closer. You see he used a piece of black wire as the ground to the MIGB. This MIGB, this is called MIGB. You're not supposed to do that. The right thing to do is you have to use a green piece of wires. Like for instance, this is 100 amp. So with 100 amp, you will use number 6 or number 8. But I prefer to make everything number 6, because it just looks better that way. So what I'm gonna do is go to the van, grab a new piece of wire, put a green, and then from here, because this is the main panel, it's not a sub panel. If it was a sub panel, this would have been the right thing to do. But in this case, this is a main panel. So the right thing to do is to go from here to the neutral. And then this green screw here has to be screwed in all the way. As a matter of fact, let me do it now, because that's how you bond the panel to itself. So all the screw does is, where everything come from the apartment, it travel here and then go back to the source where it comes from. So once you do this, the panel is bonded with the neutral. So if something happened, everything come back here, travel back to the neutral, the ground, and come back here and go right back to Edison. You know what I'm saying? So keep in mind that it's not about making quick money. It's all about doing the right job. Because once you do the right job, more work will always come. But once you do bad work, then you build a reputation for yourself. That's bad business. Because think about it. The person gonna know your company name unless you're using a fake company name, right? So they're gonna not give you a bad review. Which what you're gonna do. Start a new company, start over. It just doesn't make sense. If you take your time, you do the right thing, God will reward you. And sometimes it's okay if you had planned to make a certain amount of profit and you're not able to, it's okay. As long as you don't lose on the job, it's okay. At the end of the day, you just want to make sure everything is done correctly. You know, just take your time, do a decent job. So now it's very important to know whenever you have a 12-3 comes in to the panel, you have to group the wire. The reason that is because you have multiple different circuits coming to the panel. So the inspector always want to see that the job is done correctly. They want to see that you group everything. And there's so many ways you could do it. You could use zip ties, you could use electrical tape to do that. For me, I'm gonna use zip ties. So what happens is when the inspector comes, the inspector can see, okay, this neutral belongs to this 12-3. So that's what I'm gonna do. Once I do that, I go boom, and that's it. So now, I want to keep as much neutral as possible, so I'm going to go as low as possible. A little bit too short.